You have an idea that could change everything, a perfect seed. You've nurtured it in the quiet incubator of your mind, convinced of its power, its brilliance, its necessity. You can feel its weight in your hands, a golden promise of the harvest to come. So you sow it, launching it into the world with hope as your guide and conviction as your fuel. But what happens next is what truly defines your destiny: a deafening silence, an indifferent market, the slow creeping realization that the revolution you envisioned is met not with applause but with apathy. Your perfect seed, the one that cost you sleep, savings, and security, lies dormant on barren ground. You are left staring into the abyss of your own ambition, asking a question that has haunted visionaries for centuries. Why do brilliant ideas die at birth? The world tells you to refine the seed. It whispers advice from 1,000 business gurus. Work harder, hustle more, pivot your strategy, change the product's color, rewrite the marketing copy. You are told to believe in your idea so fiercely that your sheer willpower will force it to grow, and so you obey. You return to the workshop, polishing the seed until it gleams, sharpening its edges, convinced that its perfection is the only variable that matters. Yet, when you cast it again, the result is the same. This cycle of effort and disappointment creates a subtle poison, a deep-seated doubt that begins to erode your soul. You start to believe the fault lies within you, that perhaps your vision was a mirage all along, a tragic miscalculation of your own genius. But what if the problem was never the seed? What if the relentless focus on the idea itself is the most dangerous deception in the world of entrepreneurship? Consider for a moment that the failure you've experienced is not a judgment on your vision, but a simple, predictable outcome governed by an ancient law. A law hidden within a 2,000-year-old story, often dismissed as a simple religious metaphor. There exists a code, a timeless strategic manual for success that has nothing to do with the quality of your idea and everything to do with the nature of the ground upon which it lands. We are about to unlock this code, and it will permanently change the way you see not only your business, but the very architecture of reality. Imagine the feeling of that launch day, the quiet hum of the computer in the pre-dawn darkness, your heart beating in rhythm with the blinking cursor. This is it. Years of sacrifice, of relentless work, of unwavering belief, all condensed into this single moment. You release your creation into the world, your perfect seed, and you wait for the ground to tremble. But it doesn't. The hours tick by with agonizing slowness. The silence from the world is so complete, so profound, that it becomes a noise in itself. You refresh the page, check your email, stare at your phone, searching for any sign of life, any validation. Instead, you feel a cold dread creeping into your veins, the undeniable and crushing weight of being utterly and completely ignored by the very world you intended to change. You know that weight in your chest when you have to face the people who believed in you, the friends who cheered you on, the family who invested their faith, perhaps even their money, into your dream. You see the question in their eyes, the one they are too kind to ask, and you offer a hollow smile and vague reassurances that things are moving. It is a uniquely painful performance, a slow erosion of your integrity. You feel like a general reporting a devastating loss while trying to maintain morale. Each optimistic word you speak feels like a betrayal of the crushing reality you carry alone, widening the chasm between the visionary you promised to be and the failure you feel you have become. It's that silent thought that visits you in the dead of night, after all the distractions have faded, the insidious whisper that says, "You were a fool to believe in this. You are an imposter." This voice doesn't scream. It calmly and methodically dismantles your self-worth. It replays every mistake, magnifies every flaw, and reframes your passion as delusion. It questions not just the validity of your idea, but your very capacity to create anything of value. Have you ever felt that? That quiet, internal trial, where you are both the prosecutor and the accused, and the verdict is always inevitably guilty. This is the deepest pain, the one that attacks the very root of your identity. And then there is the maddening frustration of watching others succeed with what you know in your heart of hearts is a lesser seed. You see competitors with inferior products, with muddled messages, with a fraction of your passion, somehow capture the imagination of the market. Their gardens flourish while yours remains a barren wasteland. This breeds a specific kind of bitterness, a sense of cosmic injustice. You ask the universe, why? What do they possess that I lack? You study their methods, dissect their strategies, but the answer remains elusive because you are still asking the wrong question. You are still focused on their seed, assuming it must be secretly better when the real secret lies elsewhere, hidden in plain sight. Do you recognize that profound, soul-deep exhaustion? The kind that sleep cannot cure. It is the exhaustion that comes from pouring your life force, your very essence, into a project that gives nothing back. Your passion, which once felt like an infinite wellspring, now feels dangerously finite. Waking up each morning becomes an act of monumental effort. The fire that once lit up your path is reduced to smoldering embers, and you find yourself going through the motions, driven not by inspiration, but by the sheer, stubborn refusal to quit. It's the feeling of being spiritually bankrupt, of having your hope foreclosed upon by an indifferent reality, leaving you hollowed out and disconnected from your own purpose. Then the fear begins to solidify, taking the tangible form of mounting bills and a dwindling bank account. It's the anxiety that hums beneath every waking moment. Every purchase, every expense is filtered through a lens of scarcity and impending doom. The dream that was supposed to create freedom has instead become a gilded cage of financial servitude. This is the point where the abstract worries of the world become terrifyingly concrete. The pressure suffocates your creativity, replacing strategic thought with desperate survival tactics. Your vision, once expansive and bold, shrinks until it fits into the narrow confines of next month's rent, held hostage by the very resources it was meant to generate. This journey of frustration inevitably leads to a crisis of purpose. When your great work, the thing you believed you were put on this earth to do, is rejected, it feels as if your entire life's mission has been invalidated. You begin to question your path, your intuition, your connection to whatever guiding force you believe in. You find yourself adrift in a sea of uncertainty, the North Star of your purpose having vanished from the sky. Have you ever stood in the wreckage of your own dream and wondered, if this wasn't it, then what is my purpose? It is a disorientation of the soul, a loss of the fundamental why that animates a meaningful life. Please, hear this now. This pain, this exhaustion, this crushing doubt, it is not a verdict on your worth. It is not evidence of a flawed vision. It is simply a symptom. It is the predictable and inevitable agony of a masterful sower casting a perfect seed onto hostile ground. Your struggle is not unique to you. It is a timeless pattern, a diagnostic sign that you have been operating with an incomplete map of reality. The frustration you feel is the final, desperate signal that a fundamental truth is being ignored. But that is about to change, for the source of your pain holds the very key to your liberation and the ultimate fulfillment of your purpose. For generations, we have been taught a single gospel of success, the gospel of the grind. We are told that the universe rewards relentless effort, that the prize goes to the one who works the hardest and sacrifices the most. This philosophy has become a badge of honor, a sacred cow of entrepreneurial culture. But this is the dangerous half-truth, the common enemy that keeps so many visionaries in chains. It is not that hard work is irrelevant, or that a brilliant idea is worthless. The problem is that these are only one half of a sacred equation. Focusing exclusively on the path of effort is like building the most powerful engine ever conceived and then placing it into a chassis with no wheels. The engine will roar, it will burn fuel, it will generate immense heat and noise, but it will go nowhere. Now consider a different approach, the path of alignment. This path does not negate effort. It consecrates it. It suggests that success is not a war to be won through brute force, but a harmony to be achieved. Every idea, every vision, every product you create carries a unique energetic frequency. The path of alignment is the science of matching that frequency with an environment that can receive and amplify it. It is the art of preparing the soil so that it is not just receptive, but actively calling for the specific seed you carry. This is the difference between trying to force a plant to grow on concrete and placing it in rich, fertile earth, where its growth becomes a natural, effortless unfolding. The common enemy is the belief that you must conquer the environment. The truth is that you must learn to resonate with it. The pain you have felt, the frustration, the burnout, it all stems from walking the path of effort while remaining blind to the laws of alignment. The conventional wisdom has trapped you in a cycle of perfecting your seed while casting it upon spiritually and strategically barren ground. You have been playing only half the game. But what if there was a map, a 2,000-year-old blueprint that perfectly illustrates this divine dynamic, explaining with perfect precision why one effort leads to a bountiful harvest and another leads to silent ruin. This is not a quaint story for moral instruction. It is a divine algorithm for manifestation, a timeless diagnostic tool that allows us to understand the fundamental architecture of success. We are about to bridge this ancient wisdom with the modern world. For 2 millennia, this key has been hidden in plain sight, presented to the world within the pages of the Gospel of Matthew. It is known as the parable of the sower. Spoken by a master teacher on the shores of the Galilee, it was delivered as a divine schematic, outlining the immutable laws of creation and reception. This was not a simple story to teach morality. It was a profound revelation about the very fabric of reality, a sacred map detailing how an intention, a seed, interacts with the consciousness that receives it. For centuries, Its true power has been veiled, interpreted merely as a lesson on faith. But within its simple structure lies a sophisticated diagnostic tool, a spiritual technology so precise it can predict the success or failure of any venture, long before the first seed is ever sown. This ancient wisdom, this sacred map, remained a beautiful but abstract metaphor for centuries. It lacked a practical key, a manual for application in the material world of ambition and commerce. It remained a spiritual truth, waiting for a practical translator. And that translator arrived in the 20th century, in the form of a man obsessively dedicated to one single question: what are the precise, replicable laws of achievement? His name was Napoleon Hill. For over 2 decades, he dissected the lives of the most successful men of his era, not looking for anecdotes, but for a tangible, workable science of success. He was a cartographer of the mind, and in his masterwork, he unknowingly forged the final key needed to unlock the parable's immense strategic power. Here now is the point of revelation, where the ancient and the modern converge. The 4 soils described in the parable are not just allegories for the human heart. They are perfect, functioning archetypes for the 4 primary business environments every entrepreneur will ever encounter. They represent your potential customers, your market, your team, and most critically, the internal landscape of your own mind. The parable provides the diagnosis, the unerring ability to identify the ground before you, and the timeless principles discovered by Napoleon Hill. They provide the prescription. They are the tools, the sacred science required not just to find fertile ground, but to create it. We are now prepared to decode this master algorithm. We are about to translate a timeless parable into a definitive playbook for inevitable success. Let us now walk together into the inner chamber of this ancient wisdom. Here, we move beyond theory and into the sacred mechanics of creation. The language is simple, the implications are infinite. You are the sower, your idea, your product, your vision for a better world. That is the seed. But the soils are everything else. They are the market, the culture, the zeitgeist. They are the hearts and minds of your potential customers, and most profoundly, they are the shifting landscapes of your own consciousness. To master this code is to understand that you are not merely a farmer subject to the seasons. You are a conscious architect of the very ground from which your reality springs forth. This journey of decoding requires a dual vision. You must learn to see these soils as external realities, tangible market segments and customer archetypes that you can strategically identify and engage. But you must also, and with even greater courage, learn to recognize these 4 soils within yourself. For the state of your inner world, the fertility of your own mind is the primary determinant of the harvest you will reap. The outer world is but a mirror, reflecting the condition of your internal ground. Therefore, as we analyze each soil, ask 2 questions. Where does this exist in my market, and where does this exist in me? This is the path of the master sower. We begin with the first soil described in the parable. As he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured it. This is the soil of hardened apathy. It represents the vast majority of the world that is utterly indifferent to your message. They are not hostile. They are simply not listening. The ground of their attention is packed down, compacted by the endless traffic of their own thoughts, routines, and distractions. Your idea, no matter how brilliant, cannot penetrate this surface. It lies exposed, vulnerable, and is quickly carried away by the birds of distraction, the next notification, the next news cycle, the next fleeting desire. In the language of modern business, this is the catastrophic failure of untargeted marketing. It is the billboard on a highway seen by thousands, but read by none. It is the mass email sent to a list of disengaged subscribers. The seed is perfect, but the ground is impenetrable. The birds are the ceaseless scroll of social media, the 24-hour news cycle, the infinite buffet of digital content designed to steal the most precious resource of all, attention. Your idea is not rejected. It is never even processed. It is consumed by the noise before it has a chance to whisper its promise, a casualty of a world saturated with information and starved of meaning. Imagine a path worn smooth and hard by the footsteps of 1,000,000 travelers. No water can soak into it. No root can take hold. This is the perfect metaphor for the apathetic mind. It is a closed system, preoccupied with its own destination, and your seed is nothing more than a speck of dust on its surface. There is no opening, no curiosity, no receptivity. The person is not looking for a solution because they are not even aware they have a problem that you can solve. They are on their own journey, and their mental soil is sealed shut, rendered sterile by the sheer force of habit and the relentless pace of modern life. Here we find the first critical connection to the science of Napoleon Hill. This wayside soil is the direct manifestation of a mind operating without a definite chief aim. When a person or a market market lacks a clearly defined purpose, a burning desire, or a pressing problem, there is simply no fertile entry point for your seed. Your idea, which is a solution, requires a problem to take root. Without a defined purpose, the mind has no organizing principle, no filter to recognize what is important. It becomes a hardened path, where everything is noise and nothing is signal, and new ideas are just more debris to be swept away. Think of it this way. A definite chief aim creates spiritual and psychological hooks in the soil of the mind. It aerates the ground, making it receptive to information and opportunities that align with that aim. When you cast your seed, your product, your message, at a market that has no corresponding aim, it has nothing to hook into. It simply bounces off the surface. This is why untargeted advertising is an act of hope, not strategy. You are casting seeds and praying that one accidentally lands in the tiny crack of a person's undeclared desire. The master sower never relies on such accidents. Therefore, the first mental action you must take is to transform from a broadcaster into a spiritual sniper. Stop throwing your precious seed along every path. Instead, become obsessed with understanding the definite chief aim of your ideal customer. What is the burning desire that keeps them awake at night? What is the singular problem they are desperately seeking to solve? Align your seed so perfectly with their path that it is not an interruption, but a revelation. It must appear not as another random stone, but as the very signpost they have been praying for. And now you must turn that lens inward. What is your definite chief aim? Are you a sower with a clear, burning, all-consuming purpose? Or are you simply throwing seeds of various kinds, hoping one will grow? An unfocused sower will inevitably attract an unfocused market. Your own clarity, or lack thereof, magnetizes the soil that surrounds you. Define your purpose with absolute precision. Write it down. Meditate on it. Let it become the organizing principle of your entire being. This inner clarity is the first act of tilling your own soil, preparing it for the harvest you intend to manifest. Next, the parable speaks of a different kind of failure. Other seed fell on rocky ground, where it did not have much soil. Immediately it sprang up, but when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. This is the soil of superficial enthusiasm. This ground is not apathetic. It is incredibly receptive, but only on the surface. It produces the illusion of success, a sudden explosion of green shoots that brings a rush of validation to the sower. But it is a treacherous and deceptive ground, for its promise is as shallow as the soil itself. In your business, this is the hype-driven customer, the emotional buyer. They are swept up in the excitement of the launch, the promise of transformation, the charisma of the brand. They buy the program, they sign up for the service, they profess their loyalty. You see the initial sales spike and believe you have succeeded. But then the sun rises. The sun is the first moment of required effort, the first obstacle, the first challenge. As soon as their shallow roots encounter the hard rock of reality beneath the surface, the initial enthusiasm evaporates as quickly as the morning dew, and the once promising seedling withers and dies. Visualize this soil in your mind's eye. It is a thin veneer of rich topsoil, hiding a solid, impenetrable slab of rock. It offers just enough nourishment for a seed to germinate, to give the appearance of life. But it offers no depth, no foundation, no substance to anchor the plant when adversity arrives. This represents a mindset built on fleeting emotion rather than deep, conscious commitment. It is a consciousness that seeks the thrill of the new, but is unwilling to engage in the patient, disciplined work of true growth. It is the soil of instant gratification, and it cannot sustain a harvest of any lasting value. Here we discover the second law of Napoleon Hill in action, the law of persistence. The rocky soil is defined by its complete lack of persistence. It provides no space for the roots of habit and discipline to grow deep. The scorching sun is inevitable in any worthwhile endeavor. It is the debugging of the code, the difficult client, the unexpected market shift, the sheer effort required to integrate a new skill or system into one's life. Persistence is the quality that allows the roots to push through adversity, to draw water from unseen depths. Without it, the initial spark of enthusiasm is meaningless. Hill taught that persistence is to character what carbon is to steel. It is the essential element that gives strength and resilience. The rocky soil customer and the rocky soil entrepreneur have not cultivated this quality. They are addicted to the energy of starting, but allergic to the process of finishing. Their decisions are based on the weather of their emotions, not the compass of their commitment. When the sun of difficulty beats down, they have no inner reservoir of resolve to draw upon, and so they abandon the seed and go searching for a new, shady spot where growth feels easy again. The actionable insight for the sower is to change your method of qualification. Your goal is not merely to generate excitement, but to identify and cultivate commitment. Build your marketing and your sales process to deliberately introduce a little sun. Be honest about the challenges, speak to the effort required, set clear expectations. A seed that requires deep roots should not be offered to shallow ground. By being truthful about the journey, you will repel the rocky soil consumers and attract those who are not just interested in the flower, but are willing to tend to the roots. And once more, the mirror turns toward you. Are you the sower made of rocky ground? Do you chase every new business idea, every new marketing trend, only to abandon it when it becomes difficult? Are you addicted to the rush of launching more than the patient work of building? The internal action is to cultivate your own persistence. Choose your one seed. Commit to it. When the sun of adversity rises and scorches your enthusiasm, decide as an act of will to keep watering the ground. Your persistence is what deepens your own soil, breaking up the bedrock of doubt and creating a foundation for lasting success. We now arrive at the third soil, a ground that is both promising and perilous. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. This is the soil of the divided mind, a ground of distraction and fear. Unlike the previous soils, this ground is inherently fertile. It has depth, it can support life. The tragedy here is not the quality of the soil, but the fact that it is already occupied. The seed of your idea is not planted in an empty field, but in a thicket of established, aggressive, and parasitic growth. Your vision is forced to compete for the very resources it needs to survive. In the world of business, these thorns represent what the parable calls the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth. This is the potential customer who genuinely wants and needs your solution. They see its value, but their mind is a chaotic garden, overgrown with the weeds of anxiety. They worry about their bills, their job security, the opinions of others, the state of the world. They are paralyzed by 1,000 what-ifs. The pure, simple potential of your seed is choked out by the relentless, tangled mess of their pre-existing fears and distractions, which steal all the sunlight, water, and nutrients of their attention. Imagine a rich, dark, fertile plot of land that has been left untended for years. It is now covered in a dense jungle of thorns and weeds. A new seedling, though planted in good earth, stands no chance. The established thorns have deep roots and a massive canopy, blocking the light and consuming every drop of water. This is the perfect image of a mind consumed by anxiety and a lack of focus. Every ounce of mental and emotional energy is being devoured by the thorns of worry, leaving nothing left to nourish the new seed of opportunity you have planted. This brings us to two of Napoleon Hill's most powerful principles: focused attention and its result, applied faith. The thorns are the physical manifestation of a mind devoid of focus. Its energy is scattered in 100 directions, constantly reacting to perceived threats. Applied faith, which Hill defined not as wishful thinking but as a state of mind cultivated through planning and affirmation, is impossible in such an environment. Faith is the antidote to fear, but it cannot grow where the weeds of worry have been allowed to dominate the landscape. The thorns of doubt will always choke the seedling of faith. The thorns represent a mind operating in a state of survival. They are the mental chatter of scarcity, the constant calculations of risk, the ghosts of past failures. These thoughts are not passive. They are metabolically expensive. They consume vast amounts of a person's vital energy. When you introduce your seed, a new business, a new investment, a new path of growth, it requires that same energy. But the thorns are greedier. They have been there longer. They are wired into the person's neurology. And so the worries of yesterday choke out the possibilities of tomorrow. The new life is suffocated by the old patterns. As a sower, your task is to become a gardener. It is not enough to simply drop your seed and hope for the best. Your messaging, your content, your very presence must be designed to help your customer pull the weeds. You must speak directly to their fears, address their anxieties, calm their worries. Your communication cannot just be about the promise of the flower. It must also provide the tools and the confidence to clear the ground. You must bring a message of such clarity and certainty that it cuts through the dense thicket of their mental chaos like a sharpened blade. And of course, the most vital garden you will ever tend is the one between your own ears. What are the thorns that are choking your own genius? Is it the fear of failure, the anxiety of financial pressure, the distraction of comparing yourself to others? The internal action is to ruthlessly weed your own mind. Practice the discipline of focused attention. Through meditation, journaling, and conscious choice, you must learn to starve the thorns and feed the seed. Every day, you must deliberately withdraw your energy from your fears and reinvest it in your vision. This is the non-negotiable work of the master sower. Finally, we arrive at the destination, the soil every sower dreams of. Still other seed fell on good soil, and it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. This is the soil of aligned prosperity. This is not a place of luck, but a state of perfect preparation. The good soil is the mind, the market, and the environment that is not only ready for your seed, but has been actively waiting for it. When the seed lands here, growth is not a struggle against resistance, but a joyful, explosive, and exponential unfolding of potential. This is the state of resonance, of perfect product-market fit. This is the ideal client who has already been searching for the very solution you offer. They are educated on the problem, aware of the stakes, and possess the resources and commitment to act. When they encounter your message, it is not a sale. It is a sigh of relief. It is the answer to a prayer. This is the business partnership that clicks from the first meeting, the team that shares a unified vision, the investor who understands your mission completely. In this soil, your effort is not just rewarded, it is multiplied, producing a harvest that far exceeds the singular power of the seed itself. Picture the perfect garden. The soil is dark, rich, and moist. It has been tilled, aerated, and amended with the finest nutrients. It is clear of all rocks and weeds. It is a space of pure, unhindered potential, a womb for creation. This is the metaphor for a mind that is prepared. It is open, curious, focused, and free from the clutter of fear and distraction. It has been cultivated and is now ready to receive. It does not question the seed, it embraces it. It does not resist the growth, it nourishes it. This ground actively participates in the process of manifestation. The creation of this perfect soil is not a mystery. Napoleon Hill gave us the precise blueprint for it, with his two ultimate pillars of achievement, organized planning and the mastermind. The good soil is never an accident. It is a deliberate act of architecture. It is the result of conscious, intelligent, and sustained effort. Prosperity is not found, it is built. The universe does not yield its harvest to those who are lucky, but to those who are prepared. The good soil is a testament to the fact that success is a science, governed by immutable laws. Organized planning is the art and science of tilling the ground. It is the market research, the customer development, the strategic thinking that prepares the field. It is the act of clearing away the rocks of assumption and the weeds of uncertainty. The mastermind principle, in turn, is the science of enriching the soil. It is the deliberate act of surrounding yourself and your idea with the harmonious energy of other minds. It is the nutrients of expert advice, spiritual support, and aligned ambition. Together, these two principles transform barren ground into a cradle of abundance. Therefore, the final mental shift for the sower is to become an architect. Stop endlessly searching for fertile ground and begin the sacred work of creating it. Use organized planning to map out every detail of your venture. Know your customer so intimately that you can prepare the soil of their mind long before you ever ask for a sale. Build a mastermind around you. Connect with mentors, partners, and even customers who resonate with your deepest purpose. Nurture this community, for it is the living soil from which your greatest harvest will grow. You are not a gambler, you are an architect of inevitability, and this brings us to the ultimate revelation of the Sower's Code. The first and most critical piece of land you have been given to cultivate is the soil of your own consciousness. You must apply these principles to yourself first. Use organized planning to structure your own mind, to bring order to your thoughts and clarity to your vision. Build a personal mastermind of books, mentors, and philosophies that enrich your soul and elevate your thinking. Your inner world is the blueprint and the magnetic prototype for everything you will ever create in the outer world. Before you can find the good soil, you must become the good soil. We have journeyed together from the desolate fields of frustration to the fertile ground of understanding. We began with the entrepreneur's most painful question, why did my brilliant idea fail? And we have arrived at a truth that is as ancient as the hills and as powerful as the seasons. The success of your vision, the destiny of your seed, was never a matter of chance. It was always a matter of architecture. The failure you may have experienced was not a judgment on your worth, but simply the feedback of a universal law, a law which you now possess the code to master. You no longer need to look upon your work as a gamble. You can now approach it as a sacred science. Imagine for a moment the person you were when this journey began. Anxious, uncertain, perhaps even resentful of a market that seemed blind to your genius. You saw yourself as a victim of circumstance, your fate decided by unpredictable trends and the whims of the crowd. Now see the person you are becoming, a conscious creator, a master gardener, an architect of your own ecosystem. You now understand that the world does not happen to you. It responds through you. You possess the wisdom to no longer be at the mercy of the seasons of the market, because you have learned the timeless art of cultivating your own soil, preparing it for a harvest that is not just possible, but inevitable. This knowledge bestows upon you a quiet and unshakable sovereignty. The frantic energy of the hustle, the desperate need for external validation begins to fade. It is replaced by a calm, deliberate, and powerful confidence. You now know that your primary work is not to shout louder into the wind, but to prepare a place of reception. Your power lies not in convincing the world, but in creating an environment so fertile, so aligned, so resonant, that the right people, the right opportunities, the right resources are naturally and irresistibly drawn to the garden you are tending. This is the shift from being a player in the game to becoming the creator of the entire field. So I invite you now to pause. Before you write another line of code, before you design another marketing campaign, before you make another sales call, simply be still. The next great breakthrough in your venture will not come from more external activity. It will not be found in another book on tactics or another seminar on closing deals. The most powerful, strategic, and profitable action you can take right now is to turn your gaze inward. The outer world of your business is a perfect reflection of your inner soil. To change the reflection, you must first address the source. The real work begins now in the quiet temple of your own mind. Look upon the landscape of your life and your business with the eyes of a master sower. Ask the diagnostic questions with radical honesty. Where has the soil of your mind become compacted and apathetic, refusing to let in new wisdom? Where is it shallow and rocky, driven by fleeting enthusiasm, but lacking the roots of true persistence? What are the thorns of worry, scarcity, and doubt that are actively choking the life out of your most precious seeds? This self-assessment is not an act of judgment, but the most crucial strategic planning session you will ever conduct. You must know your own ground before you can ever hope to cultivate it. This is your true calling. The real work is not the hustle. It is the holy work of tilling your own consciousness. It is the daily discipline of pulling the weeds of fear. It is the courageous act of removing the rocks of self-doubt. It is the patient process of enriching your mind with a mastermind of powerful, life-affirming ideas. Do not see this as a chore that takes you away from your real work. This is the real work. The success of your business, the growth of your wealth, the impact of your vision. All of these are simply the happy, inevitable byproducts of a well-tended inner garden. The world is filled with golden seeds, with brilliant, world-changing ideas locked away in the minds and hearts of visionaries just like you. Those seeds are not waiting for funding. They are not waiting for the right economic conditions. They are not waiting for permission. They are waiting for fertile ground. They are waiting for a sower to finally understand that their primary responsibility is not to perfect the seed, but to dedicate themselves with the focus and devotion of a master craftsman to the sacred and supreme art of preparing the soil. And so as we conclude our time together, understand that the universe is not asking you how brilliant your idea is. Your family, your investors, your customers, they are not ultimately concerned with the perfection of your seed. The single most important question that will ever be asked of you, the question upon which your entire destiny hinges, is this: what kind of soil have you chosen to become? In the grand design of creation, the seed always and without exception responds to the soil that welcomes it. Now, go and prepare your ground.